Hello, everyone. We're here with Autism Answers today, and we're here with Socially Christy, also known as Christina Dubois, and we're going to talk about summertime and summertime wonderful activities that you can do in the community with someone who is on the spectrum.
Hi, my name is Christina, known as Social Christy on all social media platforms. I'm your favorite Detroit mom, where I'm everywhere but my couch, and I live as though I have no budget. If you catch me in the streets on my e-bike, you'll see me raising and homeschooling my child who happens to be on the spectrum.
So, Chrissy, I know I've seen you on social media, and I'd like to learn a little bit about how your daughter was diagnosed and how that's affected what things you think your daughter should do.
Yeah, so my daughter was diagnosed. I knew my daughter was on the spectrum at one. She was diagnosed. You're not legally allowed to be diagnosed until 18 months. She literally got diagnosed, I think, the day after 18 months. Since then, it has been just me creating a life that, with growing and raising her, that I know that she enjoys, but that also is effective and accessible to both of us. I know, just like with when it comes to parents and kids on the spectrum, a lot of parents are what the child needs, but essentially we really don't know what the child on the spectrum needs because most of them have social, emotional, and speech delays. So I literally live a life where my daughter leads me to an extent. So like how we do nature, how I came up with homeschool, knowing that that was the best thing for her opposed to being traditional school. That works for us because I am the ruler of my time and my day because I own an agency. So just using what she loves and likes and what she tells me and what she shows me, and then creating a life that's wrapped around that, but that is still something that is possible for me to live a life too, that I'm still a whole woman, I'm still a whole friend to somebody, and I want to be an exceptional parent, but just leaning on what she says that she likes and leading with that. We also take her IEPs and turn them into goals so that we are able to execute those as well. So that helps us with building our days, our months, and our year.
That is so cool you're able to do that. So, you're a different parent. You don't necessarily have the summer break, but for those parents who are out here and it's summer break, share with us some of your favorite activities, things you've done that are really cool with your daughter.
So homeschooling is the same as regular schooling. So some people homeschool throughout the year, but essentially I just say they just being somebody's parent because most of the other kids are out of school. So we are actually on break. Our break just happens. Our break here in Michigan, I think, is June for traditional kids. Eden and I have a down south calendar because we start before the school year and then we end in May. So we're traditional just like any other school with the educational basis. And some of the things is this summer, she's actually a 50-50 split. We've decided to send her to a camp. We've researched the camp. It's great and she loves it. I still think it's weird for a kid to go from homeschool to a full-on camp 5 days a week. So that's why I said it's 50-50. But some of the four things that we tell all of our friends, whether they homeschool, whether they're traditional school kids, or whether they're just too young to be in school, get activated at the local splash pads. Splash pads are so cool. They're free. You're able to bring lunch, but it's just like a open space, especially for kids on the spectrum. Where some kids I've learned, and we have a homeschooling group too, where kids are just solely on the spectrum. Some kids actually don't thrive in water, but then there's nature. They thrive in just being hearing kids and having that body experience with other kids, but maybe they don't want to be in the water. So there's grass, there's walking, there's biking abilities. I think a lot of times us in this generation we sleep on libraries. Libraries have so many different programmings that actually are fun. A lot of libraries also have passes that get you into paid places like parks, museums that cost money, and maybe you have a bunch of children and you have one child that's on the spectrum, right? And so you're like, oh, how do we do it? You can literally go there. It's called for Michigan, it's called the Michigan Adventure Pass, and you can go get Henry Ford passes for free. It's literally like taking out a library card, but it comes with perks. The last one is also parks. Parks are so cool, especially if you live in the city of Detroit or Metro Detroit. Our parks are like a 10 out of 10, highly recommend. So I would say those are the three things that I always tell parents, whether you have, disposable income, you rather not spend it, or however your lifestyle may look, whether you're an entrepreneur, non-entrepreneur, just a standard parent of traditional non-homeschooling kids, utilize those. Because if your kids aren't in camp, because camps right now are $1 million, you literally can utilize all these things that are literally things that we pay for with our high taxes: libraries, parks, and splash pads, like local splash pads.
So, Chrissy, How do you develop new activities for your daughter? And then how do you introduce those new activities for to your daughter?
So we're big with just like taking her out. So obviously, like for our family, first thing in the morning, we're going outside anyway. My daughter has to touch grass, like literally physically touch grass and just roll around. So she's a nature kid already. So for me, it's just planning our day of what that looks like. So like today, she had a dentist appointment, so I knew she would have that. I knew I had this call, but I had a client early this morning. So building that day out. And then the rest of the day, honestly, is for me. But like tomorrow's Wednesday, I don't know what is to come. She's expected to go to camp. I've accepted she might not go to camp. So our secondary option is that what do kids like? Something that is just like easy flowing, allows me to either do some things on my phone or things that are just like low bearing. We're gonna go to a splash pad, and we call it like and we might do different activities at the splash pad. Lunch, home, chill, and relax. So I plan around things that are beneficial for her, that allows her not only just to have fun but to learn. But I also plan things that are also beneficial to me, because the only way that I'm able to make this lifestyle work is for clients and making sure that my clients are set. So having a day that allows me to be whole, allow her to have entertainment, fun, and learning, and then just 100%. I call it like our 100% day. No day is perfect, but like a day where we both fully got what we needed.
Chrissy, I'm going to flash back on something. You talked about the splash pad. Does your daughter
Yes,
swim?
she started swimming at a little under 2.
Okay, and swimming is a big thing for individuals around the spectrum because drowning is a high cause of death rates for
Yes.
young individuals. So I'm so thrilled to hear you talk about that. How did you get your daughter started with swimming?
We just did private lessons. There is a I just found out last week she's world renowned. I know locally she's great. There is a woman who is in Royal Oak who has actually a swim school. We have the opportunity to do swimming. Me, I've been a swimmer ever since I was a child, like I believe under 2. And so I know for me, I didn't want that for her. And the way that I am a little bit different when it comes to my child being on the spectrum, I don't allow her, her autism. I always tell people, Eden has autism, she isn't autism. I think a lot of times we aren't really sure what our kids are capable of, and autism is just that, a spectrum. She could be a 137, somebody else could be a 249. Like everyone is different. So I introduced her to water. Once I saw that, again, it was led by her. She's never had a issue with water, be in the bathtub, thriving and jiving. So we just put her into swim, because also I do a lot of things in the summer. Like my dad has a boat. We have a lot of friends with water property. We go up north. We're going up north next week. So again, I understood that with having a child on the spectrum, life could be different. But I also understood, being a social worker who worked with kids with autism before I ever had my daughter, is that we also sometimes lead with the unknown and then start to create a narrative that may never have been our story, which her swimming and water fear isn't our story. It's maybe someone else's. But I also love splash pads. Another cool thing too, the reason I do splash pads opposed to pools. Splash pads, the high likely, unless the child slips and falls and hurt themselves, splash pads are also low bearing, accessible to also introduce with a group water to your child. Again, like I said before, I have a group where I have a mom's group, but I have a secondary aspect of that is some of the parents are on the spectrum. So we might just do hyper focused just autism events. And a lot of parents last year were like, my kid has never liked water. And I'm like, yeah, when you introduce a large body of water to anybody, that's scary. And imagine being on the spectrum, not knowing how to like dissect that. But splash pads are great. You visually can see water. You don't have to be in it. No one wants to be in the Detroit River in the sense of that. But it's just touching your feet, water, which is similar to taking a shower, which is similar to washing your hands. So just introducing families and my daughter into it slowly. It doesn't have to be something that we immerse our kids in immediately. Like, here, push it in the pool. Yeah, I'm not doing
Well, I'm glad you're not doing that.
that.
That would be very different. So you're doing a lot of things to enrich your daughter's life. How do you think it
Yes.
benefits Eden?
I would say a few weeks ago I'd be like, I don't know how to answer that, but like I said, we take her IEP and we create goals with them. We have successfully killed another 4 goals where we have to redo an IEP and reset goals and accomplishments. So I would say it affects her in a positive way, because my daughter is learning. She's able to socialize, interact with other kids. And that's not to say that we don't have hard days. I'm learning that my daughter's hard for her being on spectrum is very, very social. She's not able to conceptualize a conversation. So sometimes it's repetitive. But when it comes to like her learning excitement, recently we did something with Metro Times, and they capture her saying, "My mom is the best. We do all this stuff. It's cool." So I would say she loves it. I'm gonna give it. She said a 10 out of 10.
I love it. But see, how do parents find, like you found a camp for your daughter? How do you find camps? How do parents research? What questions do they ask? Um, what sources do you use to find really great camps or other activities for their kids?
So for me, I'm definitely, obviously, as I said in the intro, I'm everywhere but my house. I'm never in my house. I always make jokes that somebody could steal that picture frame and I wouldn't know because I'm never here. For me, it is actually just like referrals or just actually going to the facilities. The camp we decided to choose, weirdly enough, awkwardly enough, because most people, they're very shocked because we're very much I don't know how to, I guess, conceptualize the word, but we are very much like I pay top dollar for childcare, but I'm learning that top dollar doesn't equate to the best childcare ever. So we are
Yeah.
actually at a Detroit Parks and Recs summer camp this year. And it was based off of friends who we value. We know they don't play when it comes to their kids. We also know that these are the friends who understand what autism is and what it means for me, and that Eden sometimes can have challenges that may not be maybe as high as sensory, but it may be things of like, is she able to convey what I need her to convey and still be safe at a facility? These friends know that, and so I took their word for it. Also, the cost. But I would say the number one thing I did, it's a recreational center. So we went to the rec 3 months prior to camp ever starting. So I got to see how these people interacted with everyday people. They're not unaware that, I'm and quote unquote, I mean, I paid for it, but I'm casing the place. But also how they talk to my daughter, how they interact with my daughter, does she enjoy it? Because we could pay for a camp and our kids hate it, but we've already
Yeah.
paid for it. And the way that money is made these days, they're gonna have to still go. So like that could completely erupt a child, like disrupt their whole being.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just getting references from people who value and understand the actual motherhood and space of raising a child on the spectrum. Because I think some people are like, oh, but my friend said it's great. Yeah, but they only have 3 non-neurodivergent children. It's a lot different than kids who are dealing with sensory issues, noise issues, sound, having people who are acclimately, like, who are educated in the space of autism. So the place that she ended up going to, they have not 1 but 5 children who are on the spectrum. I also love that they were younger, they weren't older. Younger just being that chances are I'm learning in this space that family is learning just like I'm learning. So they're also researching and looking, but also the administrative has 2 grandkids who are on a spectrum, and she is kind of like their secondary childcare provider. Of the 3 months we went there, never was it a fight for Eden to go. Oftentimes she runs off without me. For me, my daughter is very much, I think she can read souls, and she will not go somewhere she does not like, nor does she feel like there are bad people there. So for me and like my friends in my group that I orchestrate, that's what I tell them. Use references, but only from people who understand and can comprehend what raising a child on the spectrum is like. It is all great that we get recommendations from other parents when it comes to like maybe, if we could go to a place and different things that it offers. But when it comes to, this is essentially like a place that is going to have your child for 8 hours while you're away from somewhere, you're always doing something. Make sure you use friends who they understand your current situation and you value their opinion. 2 is Google. Google still has other things that would help you. And 3, if you're able financially or timely, go do trial days. So a lot of facilities, people don't know, you could do trial days or do day rates. Day rate might be $20 opposed to the $300 for the camp or the $250 for the camp. Go one day. If your kid is tussling and rustling you to even walk in, understand that might be a problem. If the drop off time for that camp is 8 o'clock, you got to be at work at 8:30. This may not work for you. Or if the child is easy to go in and they like to play, but they only like to play certain things, and transitions are in, they will lose their mind with transitions. Camps have transitions.
Yeah.
They have a lot of them. You are not staying in the same space for one time. So using that to evaluate, and then lastly, that all may go bad, right? You might have a rough time getting your kid in, but we're used to it, right? We're autism parents. But then you get your kid in and they want to stick to one thing. But then the greatest thing happens. The people who work there are willing to work with your child, which usually is something that's interesting. It literally is Like our kids, I always say our kids do what they want to do, but when they're with other people, somehow they are implementing and changing them. If they're willing and showing you that they are loving, compassionate, and want to work with these kids, I also say those trial days will help with that because it goes a long way to see people care about your kids. I mean, probably not as much, but just just as much.
And I love the fact you pointed out that that social interaction with other parents who also are going through the exact same thing in your age range, in your area, that's so critical for
Yes.
making good selections of things. I love that you're doing that. Tell me about parents who are hesitant, and maybe give words of advice for parents who are hesitant of allowing their child. It's their fear, not necessarily the child's fear. It's their fear of, oh my goodness, I'm putting my child into this new space. I don't want to do it. Talk to parents about that. Tell me what you think.
Well, I'd say probably just refer back to the last like probably minute and a half. If you are able financially or time wise, take your child to either different groups or that specific program, camp, regiment, whatever it is that you need to let the fear go away. I think the best way because I can tell somebody too I'm blue in the face. Just do it. I guarantee you. I guarantee you that the greatness is gonna happen. I tell people that all the time when it comes to bikes. People are like, "Oh my god, I want to bike Chrissy too," but oh my god, you bike with your baby. But I would just lose my mind. I'm learning that I can't teach people how not to fear the unknown, but I can tell you to utilize the real life what is happening. If you can timely or financially afford to go to, like I said, that program, that camp for a day, maybe be on the other side of the wall, because we all know again, whether you're neurodivergent or not, kids are kids. And no one's gonna change my mindset of that. Like a child is still a child. If I see my mom, I'm gonna cling to her. If I feel like my mom is there, I definitely feel safer. But I know that I can't leave this room. So those are the things like just go to the facilities. I think a lot of parents too, again, neurodivergent or not, don't realize you can also email organizations, communities, committees, programs, businesses. Hi, this is my situation. This is what I would like to do. Can I just come in for one day? And a lot of them will either say free or they'll give you like Eden last year went to a pretty pricey camp and I wasn't sure. I was not sure, but it was $500 for the week. And I'm like, $500 is a lot to lose, and she doesn't like it. So I just emailed them. I'm simply told them what she's on the spectrum. She's never done this, but she's shown signs. She's said she's wanted to do this, but I just want to see if she can actually, I said my issue isn't the socialization or working with people, other kids, or what do you call it, or sensory. My issue is that my daughter is a free spirit, and there's not too much tightness that we have in our house because that's what works for our family. But it was in an area where she's very familiar with, an area where she is allowed to freely walk around. And my fear was she had never eloped, but that she would think she could elope because this business is in a facility where in a vicinity, in an area where Eden could just walk around and go to the park. So I went with them. They said, absolutely. They said, oh no, please don't pay us for a day rate. They said, just come in for a few hours, let us see. They said, the only thing we ask is that you stay outside. We have Wi-Fi in our patio area. Our windows are tinted. She won't see you. We'll see. She stayed there for 4 hours. Not once, I don't even think she knew what the door was. She was so invested into the item of which was martial arts, where they said she didn't even go to the bathroom. So we ended up sending her for a week. So again, just using those, like I think if that the actual parent has a fear of what is to come and the what ifs, you're just gonna have to get down and dirty and go to the place and see how your kid interacts, and also just accept your kid wants to do this. It's free time for you, a little bit of breather, and walk away. And again, it's a camp, a program. It's not a I hate to say it, but it's not a prison. You can go back and get your kid if you feel slighted or you feel like or sit outside all day. I mean, if you got PTO, you sit outside and, if that's what you need to do. But I do think that as an autism parent, one of the major things I see in my group, my personal group, and when we go to other groups is that we cannot, if able, we cannot hold these kids as if they're infants forever. We eventually have to let them become butterflies and explore whatever it is that they want to do.
And I love that analogy because, we think about that pod that a butterfly comes from, and we think that the smart thing to do is make it easy on the butterfly and cut the pod. When you do that, you cripple the butterfly. So thank you so much for
Absolutely.
pointing that out, because that, yeah, you got it. That's key. Chrissy, you hit on a really tough subject, the dentist. A lot of parents struggle with the dentist, that whole hygiene. Tell me how you handle it.
So I will, if I have to be transparent. In my divorce, that is actually in our documents. Currently, my ex husband is with my daughter at the dentist. I do not do the dentist sessions. Is it because she's crazy going? Nope. I just think I just don't enjoy how the dentist was initially when she first went. And to get here at almost 8 in a few weeks into how she started, all I'm gonna say is this: find you a dentist who you would give a kidney to because of how they interact, how they discuss, how they're keeping you, how they're keeping you abreast. Her dentist, when I tell you, she does not play. She's like, hey, today, like currently right now, text message, her dad is like, hey, we might have to reschedule this. I think Eden was supposed to be scheduled. When I tell you I'm so far removed though, just because of how my relationship is with dentists, and I am not on the spectrum. But her dad is like, we might have to move it to 2. This is just a lot for her today, and you already know how her dentist is. She's not gonna press anything or do anything she doesn't want to do. It took us 2.5 years. Nope, I'm lying. It took us 3.5 years to find her. To find her, for Eden to get accustomed to her. And it took us going there when Eden didn't need anything. It took us going there and hanging out with our dentist, like non-dentist things at her office, but had nothing to do with teeth. It took us going there one session for 20 minutes of her letting Eden hold it. It took us her sending us emails. Hey, there's a new Daniel Tiger. Show her this. Hey, there's a new Baby Alive toy that has a dentist set. Hey, Eden likes Legos. What if she built this mouth with teeth? Like when I say it, it really takes some time, some will. And I also understand whether people are married, single, divorced, whatever, that may not be the case where you can say, hey, this is what you will handle. And so that's why I say prior to that, this is recently, this is only the last 2 years of him handling just dentists. It was investing in time. We've gone through 17 dentists, 17. At one point, we were going to a dentist in Chicago. But unfortunately, that dentist, we would have honestly probably stayed. That dentist is taking care of her mom due to COVID, like once COVID hit, and just wanted to, work a little less and hang out with her mom in Savannah, Georgia. That's a little far. That's a little farther than what we like. But we had found Dr. Sosis and loved her. But we were traveling every 6 months to Chicago. I go to Chicago once a month, so it wasn't as horrible, but I still had to pay for hotel, etc. But it's a lot. And the tips would just be, this would be where you have to rely on autism mom's recommendation. An everyday parent with a non-autistic child is not going to be of any help. It's just they're not. They're not going to know because my dislike and discomfort from a dentist has nothing to do with I've never been hurt. I've never been. It's just I think it's a dentist. Where kids on the spectrum is totally different. It's sensory, it's motor, it's visual, it's all these things. So it's just different. Number 2 is calling your insurance company. So our insurance company actually was really cool. We have Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they had different they have different programming set where like Children's in downtown Detroit on Alexandrian, you literally could go and there were different dentists where you got to talk to, and I liked it because again my daughter has something where she can feel souls or something, and there's some dentists she wouldn't even go to the table. And there were some dentists, our dentist in Chicago, who was she was finishing up here at UAD. She loved her, and she was at UAD dental school. Loved her, so we followed. And so you can just do things like that, like programmings, meetups. If dentists are telling you, "Oh no, I'm not. I don't have the time to have your kid play around my stuff," that already lets you know they're not the dentist for you. And also accept that I have a friend who has done all of that, and it just doesn't work. So she goes to a dentist that sedates her child. It's not something that she loves, but I mean, teeth are a vital part of the rest of our body. A child having autism, a child not having autism, teeth are still, if you let something rot, it's attached to our eyes, our ears, our body. So you might have to accept that too. You might have to accept that, your experience might not be great, or your experience might be that your child has to go to a dentist that is sedated, which usually comes with a little bit of a higher cost, maybe a different type of insurance, etc. But that is something that you might have to accept.
Okay. Well, Chrissy, you have been so wonderful to speak with. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Um, do you have any last words you'd like to say to our audience?
I just want to say whether you are an autistic parent or you are a friend of an autistic parent, remember that your child or their child has autism. They are not autism, and that our kids are, they can literally be anything that they want to be. I have a 7-year-old daughter who did not talk until 4 years old. Now I think of the days of, did she ever not talk? And now this girl has been in competitions of Lego design. She's been in competitions. We are headed to a competition on the 13th. She is building a, y'all, I'd be lying if I tell you what she building. I don't know. But she building some kind of scientific thing that explodes and does science module trick. I don't know. Our kids can be whatever. People will tell us who our kids are, but allow your kids to show you who they are. I know there's, if you're watching, you're like, well, my kid elopes all the time. Let's figure that out. But when it comes to educational, when it comes to who they are, what they want to do, I'm telling you, don't let their actions tell you who they are.
Chrissy, that was spot on. Thank you for being a part of Autism Answers. You rock, lady.
Thank you.